First off, I'm so excited to be working with you guys. I do a lot of work with family offices where we have partnerships and I basically build out their acquisitions team and help them find lost revenue essentially, right? With sort of what we were talking about, Emmanuel, on their deals that they're already doing and the deals that basically they say no to, where you can make several $100,000, if not several $1 million per year on the money, on the deals you're already saying no to, because there's a lot of value there, because there's obviously most of the time somebody who will say yes to that deal. Even if you don't want it, you can make money on the deal. We'll cover a lot of different topics, but that will be one of them, just so I can show you how we can capitalize on that. Other than that, what other aspects or systems in your business do you feel like you would like to work on?
Cold calling seems like you kind of mastered that pretty well, right? And us being in the residential space, that was one of our specialties. It would be an easy transition, right, for someone that's already been doing it. But obviously, you've been doing it a lot longer than us, and so we would like to pick up some of your, skill sets and talking points, and
So just again, clarify. I heard you say cold calling. Obviously, we can talk about the process around building out processes for that. What else?
We're still kind of fairly new with commercials, so we're still kind of getting used to how to underwrite a deal as fast as possible.
All right, cool. And, so we can talk
make
about
offers on that.
Underwriting. Cool. Easy enough. All right, to kick things off a little bit, what systems right now do you have for the commercial world? Because I want to make sure you guys have the systems you feel that you'd need to even do what we're about to talk about.
We have Reonomy. We're about to sign up for CoStar today. We have a dialer, CRM.
So you have Reonomy. Hold on, I'm just taking notes. You have CoStar, or you're working on getting it. Honestly, you don't really need it to begin with. You probably can hold off until you're starting to see some success with CoStar. You could even probably just get statewide right now. You don't really need national because it's just unnecessary money. So CoStar, you have, you said you have a dialer. Which one are you using?
We have ZenCall and Just Call.
Which one do you like better? I just like getting feedback from people who are using other stuff.
ZenCall is more like it's like a multiple dialer, right? So you're gonna get spent a lot faster. So we probably commercial leads, there's a lot less of them, especially here in Arizona. So probably gonna use single dial, which is Just Call.
Yeah, because I use a residential dialer called Mojo.
Heard of it.
So for even dialing today, right? So, we rip through lead lists of between 500 and 1,000 per salesperson per day. So like they'll each get a lead list. They're going to pound through it. Sometimes it takes maybe 2 days to go through that lead list, and then they'll get recycled. I'll walk you through the process a little bit, but you can use a multi-line, and we've seen great success with it.
Okay.
So you said after a dialer, you had a CRM. What CRM are you using?
We're using RE Simply.
Okay. How do you like it?
It's great, man. We use it for drip campaigns on realtors on the residential side. Want to incorporate that into the commercial side as well.
Yeah. So we essentially took the same exact process on the resi side for the drip campaigns, emails, ring list, voicemails, and we basically do the same thing on the commercial side.
What are you using for your CRM?
We use 3 different ones, but they're all for different things. We haven't found one that does everything perfectly, so we end up having to do multiple things or multiple CRMs. The one that has the most for like campaign purposes is REI Reply, which is pretty similar to Awesome. So the software I feel comfortable with, but we can kind of walk through a couple things. So where do you feel like you want to start? I wrote the dead money on deals, cold calling, underwriting process, offer process. Where do you want to start?
I would say let's start with cold calling, right? Because we have our VAs ready to go.
Yeah.
Number one, did you get a copy of the script book that I use or no?
Yeah.
That goes through not only opening lines, not only objection handling, not only the opening, closing kind of statements that I use, but the best questions to ask during the call, financial questions, kind of walking them through the process, right? So everything that they're going to need to get some decent level of success is in that book. And what I would recommend, because I want to go through a couple things, is do you have what's the overall process you have set up for that VA?
So I just made them a training manual, literally like Friday. So right now we have they just basically just going through the whole process, right? Like how to use Reonomy. I made a video on that training video. They know how to use a dialer. Pretty simple stuff.
If you can automate the entire process of them pulling the list, cleaning the list, importing the list, dialing the list, taking the list, and then putting into your CRM, and then kind of moving that lead to the next stages, right? So that you know exactly where to kind of come into that place is that all set up, or do you feel like we should talk, I want to talk more in depth about that?
We could go into depth about it. I kind of already have a list for them on Reonomy, specific criteria, but we could go.
Well, okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So, right, I'm going to share my screen. So give me 1 minute. So I'm curious to understand like what kind of lead list you have them calling right now.
Right now we have them on an Arizona lead list. We have at least 10 years owned minimum. Commercial maximum square footage is like 25,000.
So Arizona, let's go through, because I just want to kind of walk you through each piece of this, right? So not sold within the last 10 years. What else?
25,000 square foot max.
So, okay, just a couple things. Number one, for building area, sometimes the Reonomy software screws up square footage a lot. Okay. So what we've found is better is using tax and doing a tax amount that would equate to a building of that size. Okay. Because we've just found that the information is more often accurate for taxes than it is for anything else. So like when we're trying to sort by size of property, I'll give you an example, right? Minimum area, right? 25,000 feet. You have 10,167 and we haven't even chosen an asset class yet. So let's take this off for a second, right? 564,000. I think you went down to 2% of properties, right? Where if hypothetically you go to tax, let's say, what's your tax rates for real estate?
2.8 or something like that, I think.
I'll say 2%, right? So if you want 25,000 square feet, that's probably like, what's a price per square foot? Like, what do you think a building's worth at 25,000 feet?
Probably around a $1.20 a square foot at that size.
Right. So $1.20 a foot is like what, 3.5 million? Let's just even say we said 25,000 in tax amount.
Like
right?
3 million. Yeah, 3 million.
Anyway, so like this is probably even bigger than that kind of property, right? So like if we did 10,000, so you're gonna have 17,000 properties if you sort it by this. All I'm saying is like, because I see it like this, right? Let's just say I get rid of both of those. There's 64,000 properties, and there's a lot of information here. So it's like, what type of asset class do you most often target?
We're going after all commercial general. I think we have office as well, not hospitality. I don't think we have mixed use because there's so little of them, like not that many.
Tell me a perfect ideal type. So when you say all commercial general, give me more specific.
Like industrial.
Okay, great. So ready, go industrial, right? So there's 14,500 total industrial properties. There is 7,500 warehouses in Arizona. So you said industrial, and what else?
I don't think
Retail.
So retail stores, shopping center, right? So we'll add those. What else? Is those the only two we're doing?
Pretty much, yeah, on the retail side.
Right. So now you have 16,000 properties. If we go to, hold on one second. Let me see if I can play around with this. So number one, you could even start with a list with the majority of these, but like let's also go through owner. You want to do includes a phone number.
Yeah, we're doing person since we feel like they're less sophisticated. Mom and pop.
Sure. Right. So person includes a phone number. So you're at 8,000 properties now. What else are you adding to it?
That's
Anything
it, man.
else? Right. So I'm just saying, so then you have a lead list around 8,000 that you're playing with. Is that about accurate of what you have, or what do you have now?
We have like 5,000.
Got it. So if you were just doing what, building square footage?
Yeah, we're doing max 25,000 square feet.
Right. So again, now you're down to 1,000.
You're on minimum now, but if you go to max, it might change.
Well, I'm saying, oh, you're doing $25,000 to only up to 25,000 feet.
Max, yeah.
Got
Just
it.
since reason behind that is we're starting off, right? I don't want to go too strong and make an offer on a 100,000 square foot building.
Well, the cool part is that, like, as an example, right? This is where you would broker it out, right? So if you've got a 100,000 square foot building at a great price per square foot, that's where it'd be a great opportunity for you to broker the deal out or flip the deal. Is there anything else that I'm missing that you guys have on your list?
That's pretty much it, man. Oh, bill up to 2,000.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like doing that as well.
The newer it is, more expensive it's going to be.
What's been the success rate so far of all the leads that they're calling?
They just started calling yesterday.
Nice.
The deals that we've been getting so far, they've just been on the MLS, since that's our expertise.
Got it. So I guess this is the exact lead list that you're calling right now for 5,000 or
Pretty
so.
much 5,000. Yep, exactly.
Yep. Anyways, I would take off the 25 just between you and I. The building is fine. Everything else probably looks okay, other than, yeah, I mean, and also you can play around with maybe you do the last 5 years, you add a few extra 1,000 properties that are owned in the 8 to 9 year range, somewhere in that vicinity. So you could probably do that to at least squeeze out a couple more properties to be prospecting. That's probably okay. And plus also, if you wanted to, include also a few of these other ones, like if you want to also include commercial general properties, keeping it around the same. Other than that, I think that's probably the only changes I'd probably make. I mean, you might be able to add like supermarket. Maybe you can add even most of retail if you wanted to. Maybe you just get rid of bars and taverns and auto. Other than that, this seems pretty clean. Yeah. So then in regards to the process, right, they're going to be, obviously they'll call this lead list. They'll use the scripting. What's happening now, right? So like, what's your process of like, now they got the lead list. Are they pulling it or are you pulling it?
I'm pulling it.
I mean, you probably educate them on how to pull it themselves so they can continuously be pulling properties if you want.
Not waiting on us. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now they're calling the list. What happens next?
CRM. They, say someone says, yeah, put them in the CRM, collect information, and we'll call them back.
Got it. So they put them in a CRM. Great. And then you schedule a call same day, few hours, next day. What's the process?
Yeah.
I think it depends on how motivated they are too. Like obviously if they don't want to sell for maybe like the end of the year, it's going to be pushed back versus someone who wants to sell in the next 30 days.
My process is we make an offer within 24 to 48 hours on every property. I don't care if they're 12 months out, 2 years out, or 2 days out. I make an offer the same time frame. So the goal here is that we try to move the needle. Is like just like in the residential world, we're like, hey, like, you know, we're not really open to sell, but maybe we'll hear an offer. Like no matter what, we're giving them an offer. So same kind of process. We'll add that into your process here. But like again, if we just stick to the cold calling stuff, specifically for your dialer. So they're prospecting, they get the lead, they put in the CRM, and then really just a kind of a handoff to you, or are they doing follow-up as well?
Hand it off to us, right? Because we're now it's part of the acquisition process. But if we can't get a hold of them, we'll just put them back in the system.
Got it. And you have obviously drip campaigns and all that jazz going through.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, all the same process. Yep, sounds about right. The only thing is that like, and we'll talk about the underwriting and offer process, but I would just make that a little bit fat, like that condense the timeframes, right? Like it's like the same mistake that most brokers make is that they try to pitch for a listing. If they don't want to list it, they're like, all right, it's a dead lead. I'm like, make an offer on the property. You don't know what they're willing to take. Even if they tell you they want $5 million, make an offer of 2.5, they might say, I won't do 2.5, I'll do 3. So same thing in the resident. I would say because I came from the same world as you guys, brokering and owning and flipping a bunch of freaking properties on the resi side for investments, and the commercial world, essentially like they do things very slow moving. But if you take the same mindset you have from the residential world and treat it in the same in the commercial world, you guys are going to crush it. All right. So that's on the cold calling process. I think there's a few tweaks there that we talked about. Are you planning on building a team out, or what's the next steps with the sales process or the prospecting piece? Or are you just happy with your one VA?
No, we got what do we have? We have
3.
4 VAs.
Oh, four guys calling?
Yeah.
How many dials a day are they doing? I mean,
On the residential side or commercial side?
I'm guessing then 3 are doing resi and 1's doing commercial, or what's the setup?
Well, we just started dialing yesterday. Yeah. So I really don't know. I haven't checked the stats, but it's a single dial, right? Because our experience with multiple dialer systems now is that the carriers have blocked a lot of calls. It's a lot harder to use a dialer these days, right? So we just put them on a single dial. I'm assuming they're probably going to dial between, like you said, 200 to 500 dials per day, on a single dialer.
Do you have a compensation structure besides like an hourly rate, or what do you?
Yeah, so they're VAs, right? So we pay them hourly, but we're very generous with the commissions.
I'm saying you pay like a flat fee or a percentage of the deal kind of thing.
Some it's deal specific, right? So we're telling them we're going to give them, $5,000-$10,000 commissions, 15, 20, depending on the deal size.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I mean, listen, like obviously when it comes to VAs, it's obviously going to be a little bit different than building out a normal sales team. I mean, obviously that's pretty normal. I'm definitely curious because the only thing I'm thinking about right now is like I'd love to get a deeper understanding of what their metrics are and how we can better track it for you, right? Which is like what kind of metrics are you tracking on a daily basis with them?
On the residential side, we were tracking like how many leads they're making per week.
Okay.
How many dials, daily dials,
conversations.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what the percentage ratios are in the commercial world versus resi, and figure out how we can make some tweaks for your sales team. So, again, I'm excited to have them on. They can obviously ask all the questions that they have during the trainings and stuff like that if they have specific questions on the cold calling side. Cool.
When it comes to the dialer, Henry, have you used ZenCall and Mojo? Like, which one do you prefer? Like, in your experience, have you used both, or?
I've used Mojo for the last 10 years of my career. It's just worked for me. It hasn't stopped working, so I'm using it. Honestly, like I don't have a super preference when it comes to dialers. Again, Mojo is just what I've used, so that's what I talk about. But again, if you're seeing some decent success with ZenCall, continue. I'm curious because like I've never even thought about going to a solo line just for the pickup rates. I haven't felt like it's been lower or higher. I don't feel like I've felt any difference. And I've been using my personal cell phone for years.
Yeah. So what'll happen is your number will show up as spam, right? That's what we started. And then and then you just get a lower pickup rate because like if someone's gonna be like, why am I gonna pick up the spam call? I mean, how many times you look at your phone and it says spam and you don't answer? So we're trying to avoid all that. We saw the carriers have gotten smart with 10 DLC registration and stuff and all that SMS blocking and stuff. So it's the different processes that we're taking now. And so we're trying to get the most contacts we can with such a small list, right? Because we have a small list. That's kind of the strategy behind that.
I definitely get it. With Arizona, I'm curious about how we can like skew this number up as high as we can, right? Like, I mean, to have a total of maybe 10,000 properties to me is a little bit crazy to think about.
Yeah, I would say we're just starting off with that list right now just because it's smaller and it's more our level right now. Obviously, we're just starting off in the
But all I'm saying is like, think about it like this. If you think about market size, your market size in the residential world, think about it, is hundreds of thousands of properties. So you two can do 50, 100, 200 units a year, right? That's what you have that ability, and that's only a percentage of the market. Where in the commercial world, if 10,000 is the total market, to do hundreds, quote, of transactions, which I'm not trying to say, like, again, like just that's the first thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, like you'd still have to do 1 to 2% of the market, which is a lot. And think about it, like, okay, there's 10,000 properties total. Like, how many of these have sold, right? Like, okay, so I have it up here. 1 second. Sales, the last 12 months, 884 properties have traded within the last 12 months that have the same criteria. Maybe you can get like 1 or 2% of the market, right? Like that's what I'm seeing. It's like, okay, if you can grab 2% market share, right? Like that's like 15, 16, 17 transactions. That's what goes through my head, which is why I'm trying to say, let's get a bigger market base, right? To try to attack, right? So I definitely am curious to see how we can expand your lead list. You know, if we do not within the last 5 years, I mean, like, anyways, I'll play around with it. I'll try to figure out some other ways that we can start looking for.
Yeah, let us know what you come up with. We also were thinking about expanding into other markets, the Atlanta, Georgia market that we're experienced in. We've done multiple deals there.
I definitely think that things like that kind of mental thinking of expansion when it comes to geographic locations will be very fruitful for you, especially in secondary and tertiary markets, right? Like obviously if you're going to be calling in like, you know, Scottsdale, Arizona, like these properties are, you know, it's very rare that you're going to find the properties that have not been touched yet, but like in secondary, tertiary markets, you're going to have a lot more opportunity. Feel pretty clear there on the cold calling piece. Obviously I'm curious to get the metrics from your sales guys and we can try to start combing through that to try to work on their conversions, seeing if we can make some tweaks in certain places.
I would say we'd have a more firm understanding of our metrics in the next week or two.
Let's give it a week. Let's give it 2 weeks. Let's see where metrics are at and see how we can make improvements.
Do you have recorded calls you can share with us that we can help better train the VAs?
Every Wednesday, the first hour, which is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, I have a cold calling session. So your VAs are where? Philippines?
Mexico.
So they can probably tune in. I mean, again, we're talking 8 to 9 a.m. Their time. They can tune into that call. I also have all the pre-recorded live calling sessions that they can tune into. Every Friday, I do a live calling session from 10 till 12 noon Eastern. They can tune into those calling sessions and listen to me make those calls. Plus, like I have a bunch of YouTube videos, obviously under the cold calling playlist where they can kind of rip through that. And they obviously, if they want to come to, I tell them to come to the trainings and asking questions, objections, or anything like that they're specifically getting. We can go more specifics into that. Feel clear?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Underwriting, offer process, and dead money. Which one do you want to talk about next?
Offer process.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Right now, you'd say you got a lead. What happens next? You said that, like, you know, you're going to follow up with them at some point in time. What happens? Like, tell me the specifics.
It's been me and Manny just underwriting it together. And then we usually just submit a LOI or just kind of get engaged feedback on whether they're at the point where they're ready for offer or just sending out the LOI.
And in the script book, by the way, it has a lot of questions that you could be asking that I ask specifically in regards to getting financials, getting specific things. So in there, like I would go into like the asset classes that you're looking for. If you have it open, and again, it's in the specific asset classes. So like for industrial, for retail, you'll see the questions I ask. What is your underwriting process right now? What does it look like?
To be honest, we've underwritten one deal. That was a strip mall here in Arizona. We have a LOI out right now.
Give me the property.
Want me to send you the packet?
Yeah, sure. You can send me everything you got. And just give me the address real quick.
So with this one, we have a buddy that's in the commercial academy, and he's actually he only invests here in Phoenix. So we actually partnered up with him, and he kind of just like gave us a pro forma, and we kind of worked on an Excel sheet together just because we're new to it. He was kind of helping us underwrite this one.
Cool. All right. So what offer did you come up with?
We came in at 1.7, hoping to get a retrade because it's fire damage.
No feedback yet?
And the goal on this was just a value add. No, we canceled. We did our due diligence and had tenant interviews and kind of ran the numbers, the work that it needed. We tried to get a retrade at 1.4. Was it many? Or
it'd be in our first deal. I'm a general contractor in Arizona. It'd be in our first deal. We were going to take it down ourselves. Sean was just kind of being a guidance for us. He didn't want to put money into the deal. He just wanted to help us out on it. But it'd be in our first deal. We wanted it to be a sweetheart deal. So we went in for a retrade at 1.3 and they said no. So we ended up canceling, but it was still probably a good deal at 1.7, to be honest with you. But it's just, you know, we need
How long ago was this?
A month ago.
Did they sell?
It's still active.
No, it's still active. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's listed on the market. Income wise, how did you underwrite the deal? How did you come up with the 1.7?
We were just basing off of Sean's pro forma.
Yeah.
What was your pro forma value?
Let me send you that.
You can ballpark it for me. I'm just, I can do quick numbers.
3.3.
3.2, 3.3. Okay. And then how much work were you going to put into it?
We thought since we were going to do the work, we could do it for like 300K.
Okay. Like what is like most important metrics? Are you looking at IRRs at this point because you're raising capital, or are you looking for cash on cash return because you're looking for, what are you specifically playing numbers wise?
Yeah, honestly, we were looking at we didn't look at the IRR or the cash flow. We were just going off of the pro forma, the future valuation of it and the cash flow that it was going to bring in.
All the money's your own for you guys or no? You raise money?
We would raise money on this one.
The only reason why I'm bringing it up is because like hypothetically, if do you have like a spreadsheet or anything like that you guys use for these types of deals?
Yeah, the one that Sean shared, like that's what he kind of coached us on, but we don't have one ourselves. He just shared one for us.
Yeah,
Got
if
it.
you have one, we love it. You can share it with us. But yeah, Sean just literally did all the formulas on the Excel sheet, and that was that.
So the only reason why I bring this all up is because like what I would try to come up with for yourselves is minimum metrics for investment. So it's like if you have minimum metrics, just like in the flipping world, it's the same concept, right? Like we have like, okay, I need to have an idea of like my minimum metric is, $50,000 net profit on a deal or $100,000 net profit on a flip, right? Like whatever you're looking at. For commercial real estate, there needs to be a minimum IRR that you're going to be looking to invest at. So it's like, okay, well, if this deal doesn't make a minimum of a 20% IRR, I'm not going to invest in it, or a 15% IRR, I'm not going to invest in it. It has those minimum metrics where it's like, okay, well, hypothetically, it could have been a 27 IRR at 1.7, and it could have been a 20 IRR at 1.4. And it's like, it still could have made sense at the the other way around. Sorry, it was a 20 IRR at 1.7 and a 27 IRR at 1.4. Like, obviously, you'd want to get it for less. However, it's like, okay, well, maybe if they say no to the 1.4, maybe we can go back at 1.6, and it's still a 21 IRR, 22 IRR. And it's like, okay, well, it still makes sense to do it because our minimum's 20. Without running those numbers and having that specifics, it's very difficult to say like, okay, where's like my dead stop number?
Yeah.
Obviously, like, in this case, it's, you made an offer at a decent price. I'm very quick of either based off of a cap rate, if it's fully rented, or if it's a deal like this, then I'm just going off of a price per square foot because I know that like my pro forma value will be substantially higher. So I'm like, that's how I like, again, if I'm looking at this property just for quick numbers sake, I'd probably be like 165. Like if I'm looking at this very, very quickly, came up with 1.7 without underwriting much of it, right? Like our team, because we move so fast, so, we're making, 5 to 10 offers a day. We're typically doing roughly either a price per square foot basis or price per unit basis for multifamily, or we're going off of a very high cap rate, somewhere between a 10 and a 12 cap, also having a very good price per square foot complementary on deals that are fully occupied.
So you're looking for a 10 to 12, and then you're also looking for, it complements, it's an added benefit if we get it at a good price per square foot, right?
Overall, more important than cap rates right now is price per square foot, right? Like
Okay.
I want it to also be a good cap rate, right? Like the best of both worlds, right? Like you'd love to have both, but like more importantly is the price per square foot than the cap rate. Like I'll buy a 7 cap right now, but if I'm buying it at $80 a foot, I can't lose money. I'm not going to pay a 10 cap and $180 a foot. I'm not going to overpay on square footage for a nice cap, right? Just because tenants are overpaying on their rent doesn't mean I'm going to get, buy a very expensive building.
We have another deal that we have an LOI out right now. Maybe Jeremy can
Address? Go for it.
This one is 799.
$799 was the offer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put this at 100 a square foot.
Nice. 100 a foot. Love it. What else is it? Pro forma value. What are you putting it at?
We haven't done a pro forma on it yet. It's completely vacant right now.
Completely vacant. And the Google Maps view is inside the barbershop. What the fuck?
It's a church. Actually, it has 5 suites, but it was used as a church. And then what else?
We think it's a great deal right now. Yeah, it's just right now it's owner occupied by the church, the pastor. He's actually retiring, so tired landlord.
What's price per square foot rent going for in this area?
We would say it's around 12 to 13.
12 to 13 bucks. Okay, right.
Yeah,
so
conservatively.
And you're talking triple net numbers, correct? Or are you talking like gross rent?
Gross rent.
All right, so 12 bucks, 12 bucks gross times 8,000 square feet, $96,000 gross times, let's say, what, a 70% net, right? 30% expense ratio, 35% expense ratio. What do you want to go off of?
Let's go 70.
Okay, so you have 96,000 times 0.7. You're looking at $67,000 net, and he's leaving, correct? So what I've structured in deals like this, you made an offer at $799.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what did he say?
I talked to the agent. She's going to present to the seller this afternoon.
So what I would try to do in these scenarios is that if you can buy this deal at like day one rented, that's where you start seeing some decent money. What I've been structuring with my letters of intent now, as an example with this building, like, by the way, 12 bucks for $100 a foot is it's rough. In certain areas, price per square foot gets skewed. Your price per square foot in this instance, it's like you're probably going to want to be at, especially because it's not net. Yeah, you're probably going to want to be, for these types of deals or this area, which obviously, look, we'll work on it as time goes on, but I'd probably be closer to probably 80 bucks a foot or less, just because because think about it like this. The reason why I'm talking about this, because I want you to think about it. If pro forma value or pro forma income, okay, is 67,000 net, take that and divide it by 10%, out of zero. Right? 672,000. That's a 10 cap. If you needed to sell this building tomorrow, you're selling it at a 10 cap in this market right now. The upside that you have is minimal, if not non-existent. If the future value is maybe $700,000 at a 10 cap, right? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, look, if you want to rerun the numbers at an 8, I just would like to be a little bit more conservative. My goal is to say like, hey, if I run the pro forma value and I get 700 as my pro forma, obviously you need to come in at 300. 350, 400. And I know the
Yeah.
cap, I know the square footage is, is completely out of whack and all that kind of stuff. It's like, because you can't just go off of a quick price per square foot basis. It's one metric,
You
right?
got to use multiple. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm first going to go like, oh, okay. Like in my head, I'm like, all right, quick, 799 or 800 grand. Cool. Love that. One point of reference. Next point of reference, performa value. What's performa value? Rents are only 12, because like, think about how crazy the difference is. If you had 12 triple net or 13 triple net times 8,000, your net is 104 divided by 10%. Now you're at a million plus.
I think we could make it a triple net, right? Like, how do you distinguish between making it a gross and a triple net? Like, it's just
right. So so you can play around with it, right? So you can go to LoopNet.
I'm gonna transfer over to my phone, guys.
And then all brand new buildings are like in the 20s. It's all brand new, gorgeous, stunning in the 20s. And then, yeah, I can see where like, you have one for like $12 a foot, 17, 14. Yeah, I'm with you. 12 a foot. 12 to maybe, yeah, 12-ish a foot. And there's a lot of retail available. So that being said, like there's a lot of availability, which means that you're going to have a much more difficult time trying to get a tenant on the retail side, unless you're competitive, right? Super competitive on pricing, or you're doing updates to the building, you're making it pretty gorgeous, whatever you're going to make, right? So like, this is why on this type of property, I'm probably coming in at like 400,000, because then you can't lose, right? Because even if you got to rent it for $10, $11 a foot, you're still going to be in the green, just like the residential world. If my performa value is X, I'll back out and be like, okay, how much do I need to get at a discount? How much more discounted of a price do I have to get in order for me to make a profit margin that I feel comfortable with, right? Or an IRR in this case, because it's not really a margin because you're not really selling it right away, which you could.
Yeah.
But I need to have an IRR in a certain range of return. People minimally are looking for high teens, 20.
And are you with every property you're looking to buy yourself, or like how do you transition from, okay, this doesn't work for my purchase, but let me make an offer at where I can broker it at?
Yeah,
make an
so
offer
I
for your
initially
purchase versus
so I run my brokerage like an investment office. We
Okay.
start off making an offer based off of me buying it. Then
Got
I
it.
will transition based off of their response of like how motivated this individual is, and then I can transition into next step. So if the next step, as an example, right? Like let's say you found it, because here's the problem. Like this is why like it's important to find direct to seller, right? Same exact kind of concept, because you're like not only because now you're saving the commission percentage too. So it's like when you're direct to seller and like, okay, like in the aspect of like on your letter of intent, you could say, hey, X person gets paid a commission, right? Let's say, do you have your license? You both have your license. Cool. So what you do is on your letters of intent, you write them up with a 6% commission to yourself, right? So if you write it under Emmanuel's name, you write a 6% commission to Jeremy. And then if you're writing up a deal in Jeremy's name, you write a 6% commission to Emmanuel, right? So what happens here is like now you make the extra 6 points on your deals. Where like now it's like, listen, my offer doesn't change. I'm still offering you $700,000 or $2 million, but I'm making a 6-point commission. And then you get now it's like getting a 6% discount on the deal up front.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we do, right? So like on every deal, we'll make a real, a lowball offer, but we're always writing 6 points on it, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, well, I want to walk away with X. This is my net. Like, okay, well, based off of what they want and how much room I feel like there might be on negotiation, based on negotiations, I'll be able to kind of point them in the right, or point the direction of where we need to go. Let's say you were direct to seller on this church. You're direct to seller on this church. You're not, no agent involved. You make an offer, 400 grand, 6% commission. He goes, I would never take 400 grand. I want 700. Cool. Would you be totally against having me market the property for sale? You flip it into a broker conversation. You say like, oh, he's like, actually 700. Yeah, I guess I'd be open to you doing it. Cool. Great. What you do now is that now I'll put it in front of a bunch of other investors. I'll put it out there at 750. I'll make a 6-point commission on the 700 where what he wants to walk away with. And I'll make the extra, the 6 points on top. But I typically have 2 or 3 investors that I know right away. Like I have like a VIP list of investors. And I know for a fact, if they're not buying it, the odds of me selling it are very slim, right? And then I'll just list the property for sale. Now it's like,
are you assigning it to them, or how are they purchasing it with you making money?
I just broker.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. The deals were like, there's a freaking ton of spread. I can double close. Have I done it? Yes. Is it very frequent? No. Listen, because like most of the time, like you're going to make between 2 and 6% on a double close anyways. You might as well just run it through a brokerage because no one asks any questions.
Yeah, I got you.
It's just a cleaner way of doing it. Any last minute questions before we rock and roll today?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm sure I'll have some more, but I'm good for now, Henry.
Look, awesome first session today. Let's touch base in like a week or two after we get some metrics from the VAs, and we can try to take it from there. Appreciate you guys, and see you guys tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you
See you
guys.
tomorrow.